for anyone looking to sort of get into advertising and certainly looking to draw from people like David Ogilvy, what kind of books do you sort of recommend that they sort of look into?
The core books. I would say David Ogilvy as an introduction into advertising. Yes, he's a has-been, but so much of it is still relevant today. This is one of his books. He has a book called David Ogilvy on Advertising, which I don't have here because I lent it to Mike, and he didn't bring it in. But this is a sister book, and you can read no finer. I didn't understand advertising hardly at all until I read David Ogilvy. I can say no more than that. Another writer, and again, I shouldn't lend books out. I haven't got his core book, which is The Craft of Copywriting, but a guy called Alastair Crompton. Now, this is a book he wrote, which is pretty much the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
just keep that. Sorry, John. Just keep that mic just a little bit in front of you, if that's all right.
Sorry.
That's
yeah.
Cool. No, starting on that one. Yep.
And Alastair Crompton was a copywriter and creative director in London. In fact, the guy that I worked with for years actually took his job before we got together. And so I've worked with some really high level people. I'm not showing off about that. It's just that God, you learn so much from these people. And Alastair Crompton, and I think he learned from Alastair Crompton, to be honest. And there's a lot of help, mostly about copywriting, because there's so much copy out there. But is it really persuasive and effective? Or is it just filling space? So I would put those two, and I would definitely, if you fall in love with advertising, which I had, and I'm not embarrassed to say it, Bill Bernbach's book here. There are several others, I think, but this is a kind of core book, and this is about how he introduced VW into. It's about the Hertz story and others, and gives you a real insight into the kind of creativity that changed the face of advertising. It created what we have today in terms of the way we communicate through advertising. One of the things that he created was a thing called, and I will just say it, Mike, I don't want to waffle on too much, but a thing called counterpoint. Demonstrated by what I said about VW. There's a picture of a Volkswagen Beetle and a headline that says it's ugly but it gets you there. Put your hand over the headline and it's just a picture of a VW Beetle. Doesn't tell you an awful lot except it's a VW Beetle. Put your hand over the picture of the VW Beetle and you've got it's ugly but it gets you there. That's meaningless. Put the two together. And you've got counterpoint. So often you see a picture and the words and the headline tell you what the picture is. They just wasted half your space and not been anywhere near as effective. So he was the forerunner of, as far as I've been able to track it down, to the use of that, which made advertising fun, more arresting, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why that book. There are many others. If you're getting involved in advertising and you either want to go the copy route or you want to go the design and art direction route, there's if you go the art direction route, there are books on art direction which I've got, but one of the core things to learn is typography. For instance, there's equations for how many words of what type size on what width of column and what the space should be in between to ensure that you receive the information and you can store it. There's many books out there, for instance, that are found in education where there were too many words on the line. The lines were too close together, so people were reading along and not being able to read to the next line. They kept going back to, I don't know whether you've ever done this with a book, keep going back to the same line. That's poor typography.
Oh, I thought it was me. That's
No,
a load off.
and that's what, and that's not sort of, if you like, generally understood. I told you I was a compositor, so I had to learn some of those things myself. And education has suffered to a certain degree. So imagine an ad or something online doing the same thing for your product. That's essential to you, and if that's happening, then people are not absorbing the information, certainly not retaining it. So typography is a big area in that.
Yeah.
And my final one, and then I'll promise to shut up, is a nephew of mine introduced me to this. And I haven't read it all. I must admit, I've dipped in and out, but it's an amazing book, and it's when they zig, you zag. That point of difference, that being noticed, etc., is at the core of it, but it goes into greater depth.